Hi guys, welcome to my first tutorial on my new series called Learning Java. And today we'll be learning about primitive data types. Primitive data types, as you can guess by the name, are just basic data variables built into Java. Now, there's actually five main ones called integers, doubles, floats, longs, and strings. Integers and longs only store whole numbers like 2 or 6. They don't store decimal numbers like 7.8, 9.3. They only store whole numbers. Doubles and floats store whole numbers and decimal numbers, like 3.8. Now you're probably wondering why I have 32, 64 here. Well, 32 and 64 denotes that how many bits is allocated for the variable. Basically, in general terms, more amount of bits is equal to more accurate the number would be in terms of computation, and the more digits it could store. So let's go and use integers over here. So we have integer x is equal to 10 and integer y is equal to 15. To initialize int or integer, you just use the keyword int and make sure it is in lowercase. If you type in int like that, not gonna work. If you type in int like that, not gonna work. Java is like that. Not every language is, but Java is specifically like that. And over here, note how we're using x plus y instead of creating a new integer called z and setting it to x plus y. We can do that. That's completely legal. So if you go run this code, all we'll get would be 25 in the console. So if we go ahead and run this, there, 25. Now, now let's use floats. To use a float, just type in float like that, and let's call this float x. Let's call it to 13.5. Now this is going to give us an error. Why? It's because when you're using a float, after the number, you have to type in an F to let it know it's a float. Don't know why. I think Java's the only language like that, but not a lot of work. And then let's do x times y. Now to multiply two variables, you just put this asterisk between them. So if you go run this, we'll just get the product of these. So there. Now, if you were to use a double instead of a float, and just remember, double essentially do the same thing as floats, they're just a bit more accurate. And let's just get rid of the F at the back, because we don't need it for doubles. And let's add a few more digits. We'll just get a longer number, because doubles, they can handle that. Now, let's use longs. Actually, rewrite this code. I think longs can only store 8 numbers, 8 digits, but I'm not too sure. If someone wants to correct me on that, please do. And then, as you can see, it's going to be a really long number. So now that we're done talking about those, let's move on to strings. Strings are a bit more complex than integers and numbers because they don't follow specific rules, unlike integers in math. So strings, as I mentioned previously, are basically anything and everything. They're a bunch of characters put together into a line of text. A string could be your phone number, it could be your name, your city, your province or state, whatever you want to call it, your country. And to create a string, just type in string like that, give it a variable name, just call it x, and now in string you have to put these quotation marks. If you don't, and you just type in text like that, it's not going to register. You got to put in quotation marks. Let's create another string. And note that for string, we can just use a lowercase s2. And we'll still get the same result. Oh, actually, no, no, you won't. My bad. Sorry. That worked in another language. I'm getting confused. But the thing about strings is that you can't add them. Well, you could, but it'll just be weird. So if you were to add these two strings, it'd be programming is cool. I know, right? So if you actually do that, go ahead and run this. See, it, it looks weird. To counteract this, after, let's say, the L or before the I, we could put a space. So now we know that this string is programming school with a space, and when we add the next string, it'll automatically have that space there. So if you go run this, then we have like kind of like a sentence. Now, since we have created these two strings, and let's say we want to add an integer to it, we can just create an integer, call it z, and 134. And what we could do is it's x plus y, we can also add z in there. But if you go ahead and run that, it would look really weird, trust me. Program is cool. I know, right? 134. What we could do is just add under the setup quotation marks, add z there, and then it would be program is cool, exclamation mark, space, and then it would be 134, like so. So that wraps up this tutorial, and I hope you guys learned something about primitive data types. And next tutorial we'll be going over, uh, I'm not too sure, but I think math operators. Alright, thanks for watching.